Yeah, and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hmm. So today
Can't
we
complain.
today we're going to be talking about the Perseus coming out later on this year. It's going to be the big ship for this year. So we
Mm.
thought we'd do kind of like a refresher or a recheck, and just go over a few things because there are some rumors about the ship and some things that are a little bit uncertain. And yeah, it's been interesting going back to see
Mm.
try and find some of the details. Um, Yeah, I just want to go over that, and I think it'll be interesting coming up to it because it's going to be a bit of a prosperity thing to see what actually changes between the concept and the final release later on this year.
Unfortunately, the only thing we know for certain is going to change is the price,
Oh
which
yeah,
was woefully overpriced to start with.
yes,
And it's
yeah,
going to go up.
yeah.
That's the
Well,
only thing we can guarantee.
we can show a bit of that today too because I think there's
Yeah.
some other things that are definitely subject to change as well. So we'll go over those.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll kick it straight off to the browser over here, and we're on the actual concept page here for the original Perseus. One of the things I wish I had actually brought up in the background, but I haven't brought up, is if you've actually looked at any of the funding trackers, there is literally a peak that talks about the RSI Perseus goes up for sale because this ship made so much money. So yeah, this is a very hotly anticipated ship, and CIG knows it. And I think they will be taking every opportunity they can to cash in, especially with the way they are at the moment. They are trying to raise funds, I think, for marketing of Squadron. So yeah.
Yep. One of the things I think you do see from this graphic, though, is how slow those size 7 guns are firing. And it doesn't look like they're firing, together. Okay. They're doing the old
yeah
six shooter style.
Yeah, and with that manual loading too, I think that's going to be I think, I don't want to call it shock value, but I think when this ship lands, I think it's probably a shock or surprise. People will probably be surprised by how slow it fires. I don't anticipate this being very quick, especially considering what was that pack? They had 2 arrows with it. I don't remember the name, but again, you don't get a lot of capital ships that come in a pack, and the fact that this came with 2 arrows, and when I mean a pack, I mean a small pack. Obviously, there's the really big, large ones, but yeah, it came with 2 arrows to kind of defend the ship because its weakness is fighters.
Yeah, because those size 7 turrets, they're really aimed for
Mm.
capital ships or the big ships up. They say this is a large ship killer.
Mm.
Yeah, it is a large ship killer if you hit them, but it's going to be more geared toward fighting capital ships. And we know that's the case because why have we got the RSI Perseus again? This is an old ship.
Yeah.
It went into production just before the Cold War with the Xi'an, and so the Perseus was often put on the Perry line. But it came into recent favour because at Operation Mandrake in Oberon's system, Admiral Bishop had a couple of these, and the UEES Chili's managed to destroy two Vandal destroyers. That's insane.
Yeah. I just remember now we had photos up earlier during the week. I'm going to see if I can find it while we're doing this live. Vandal Destroyer. But the other rumor that's been flying around to Algared is the size 8 guns. Did you want to talk about that briefly?
Yeah, well, the rumor is it's been upgunned to size 8. The only place I can find anything that's really talking about that is in Spectrum, where people are postulating about that. The Matrix still says size 7s. Everywhere else seems to say size 7s. Even the wiki hasn't been updated to say size 8s. And so it seems to be a rumor. It could be. But if they're size 8s, they basically double in size to what size 7s are. So that might indicate the ship needs to grow to accommodate them. But then, as you and I were talking beforehand, because they're bespoke guns, they could actually make them like sawn-off shotguns and make them fit and just up the damage output of those weapons.
So really quickly, this is the what people believe to be the Vandal Destroyer from the trailer from last year. So it is roughly the second biggest ship, I think, in the Vandal fleet. And again, there are some much older images as well, but I just grabbed this one because it's probably the most recent.
Yep.
So it's not a small ship.
No, and this ship dwarfs the Idris.
And to make it clear for the slow people in the audience, it's the big ship in the background, not the one in the foreground.
That's right.
But
so
yeah,
it's in the very early art, you had the Vandal destroyer against an Idris corvette, and the corvette was dwarfed by the destroyer, and the Perseus, which is not even a capital ship, manages to just take out 2 Vandal destroyers. So this ship has, firepower out the wazoo.
And kind of where they're aiming those size 7 guns is in that middle ground between of the big ships, so from like 5 to 10. So it allows you to kind of shoot up and shoot down. They do title this ship as the Subcap Slayer in the brochure. If I actually click over to that real quickly. If I'd been on the front page. Once dubbed Subcap Slayers or massive size 7 cannons. So I wouldn't be surprised, Algared, if they do up them to 8s. This is a common thing that has happened with other ships where they've changed mechanics. And I think the other one we should probably show as for a bit of evidence, this is the stuff you found on the Connie. I think that is really telling to that there's probably a lot of changes coming for this thing. So do you want to talk about that?
So when you look at the components that this ship has supposedly being equipped with, it has, a size 1, size 2 radar. Oh, that's the same as the Connie. 2 size 2 computers. That's double what Connie's got. Connie's got 3 size 1s. But power plants. The Connie has 2 size 2 power plants. Same as the Perseus. And the Connie struggles with power.
Yeah.
And it's only got 4 size 5 guns. So, the Phoenix was supposed to get an extra power plant originally so it could power the point defense turret. So, I don't see how 2 size 2 power plants are going to be enough to power the Perseus.
Especially with those giant guns.
Especially with those giant guns.
That, or they are as slow as we think they are.
It really makes them very slow firing. Yeah. And it would also explain why it's ballistic rather than energy weapons.
More manual than energy based. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing, size 2 coolers. The Connie has 2 size 2 coolers. So does the Perseus have 2 size 2 coolers.
So you can kind of see they just grabbed the Connie and modified it type of thing in a way. Yeah. Which makes sense. It's RSI. It's an older RSI as well. So, yeah.
It does have, the Connie's got a 1 size 3 shield. This has 2 size 3 shields. So they've upped the shields. And of course, we know that the Perseus has very heavy armor as opposed to the Connie's minuscule armor. So it can certainly take a beating, but just in that terms of power plant and cooling, you really got to say, man, it just doesn't seem enough.
So I think that's another really good set of evidence you found there, Algared, for changes coming along the way. The other 2 ships that we've got in here is the Caterpillar and the Starfarer. They are really just there for size and price reference, being at $330 and $340 respectively. So it kind of just shows you how much extra you're paying in that combat tax. And I think you'd agree with the length of the Caterpillar and the width of the Starfarer. This is in that domain. I don't think you disagree with me on that, Algared. Like it really is in that size domain. So it just kind of, I think the other one I could probably add in, while I'm thinking about on the fly, would be the Hammerhead. I think that's probably the only other one which I'd added in. But again, this thing will probably, with the Hammerhead being $725 on final release, I think this one will probably end up beating that in price. I think we're looking above that. And I think a lot of that just comes down to hype, to be honest. I wish I had organized this better, but I have not done so. But anyway.
But while you're doing that, the Constellation is a large ship, and it's a gunship. And the Perseus is a large ship, and it's a heavy gunship. And yet it's basically double the size of a Constellation. Now, I actually think the Hammerhead and the Perseus are a really good pairing, though. Unfortunately, the Hammerhead's got crew requirements out the butt compared to the lower crew requirements on the Perseus. But the fact that the Perseus is so weak to fighters, having the Hammerhead with its multiple anti-fighter turrets, paired with the heavy guns of the Perseus, really makes it a good pairing.
They are definitely going to dovetail really well with each other because the weaknesses of one is the strength of the other, literally.
Yeah. And that was one of the things we used to say, Polaris and Hammerhead, when they first came out. We actually thought that would be the best pairing. But I think now it's the Perseus and the Hammerhead are a better pairing.
Yep, I'd agree 100%.
The other thing that the Perseus has is 2 torpedo launchers. They're size 5 torpedoes. That's the same torpedo size that's on the Misery. And I think the same size that's on the...
Gladiator? No, the Gladiator? Yeah, the Gladiator.
The Gladiator has size 5s, I think. And also the Harbinger.
Yeah. So it's a pretty standard size. It's a fighter size, basically. It's an anti-fighter size, but yeah.
It's the smallest missile that gets categorized as torpedoes in the old metric. And it has 2 of those. Each of those have 10 torpedoes, so it's got 20 of those. I think
it's pretty much
memory,
it's pretty much just like guns, Like once guns go to size 5, they become more capital in size. It's the same thing for torpedoes. Once missiles go to size 5, they essentially become torpedoes.
Yeah, and that's generally because they're flying slower, so fighters can outmaneuver them or whatever. I think that the Hammerhead also had a similar loadout of those torpedoes as well, but yeah.
All right. The other thing I want to go over here is this is actually we have to go back one more step. So this is the Q&A that they did on the original Perseus, and it talks about the size 7 guns. And it basically says with customizable ammo types to provide flexibility. Now, there has been a few videos over the years that I was not able to find because it's very hard to find videos. But if you remember, they went through and they talked about different ammo types. And the best and closest thing I was able to find was when they were talking about these FPS ammo types, right? But I think you can surmise that if these types exist in the Star Citizen universe, they more than likely would work on ships as well as working FPS, right? Now that you might see that as a leap, and I will not fault you if you see that. But again, if you look at some of those weapon types and you start to think about those as ship weapons, that actually makes a lot of sense, right? Things like the distortion charges, the different laser charges, and we know that they've talked about flak in previous times to actually try and take out aircraft fighters. They've talked about different clouds and stuff like that, so like area of effect type weapons, things that eat hulls and that type of thing. So I just wanted to remind people of that because a lot of people do forget that the real takeaway from this ship's special ability is almost like by changing its ammo type, it's like you can change the weapons you have on the fly. That is its advantage, but it's also a detriment because you have to have the teammates on board that are feeding you the ammo, and it's a very manual gun. You can see very quickly when you put that 50 SCU with the cargo, it's pretty much all going to be ballistic ammo types. And if you think about it, if you just take the one ammo type, you're shortening yourself out. So you want to use most of that ammo so you can have a variety of different types to literally put against the enemy. But if you run out, so if you're all of a sudden only have 20% of your ammo is distortion and you run out, you could be in real trouble. So it is going to be a lot about planning with the Perseus and logistics. There is going to be some really interesting gameplay player choices in there that could really make or break this ship for you and your crew.
It's a bit like the old the way that machine guns on fighters used to have a tracer round, a high explosive round, and an armor piercing round, and they do those in a chain. But and you'll need to do that. The other thing that this FPS weapon type thing reminds me of is the Harbinger torpedoes were supposed to have that ability to have e-warfare and...
You're thinking of Sentinel. You're thinking of Sentinel, not Harbinger.
Sorry, the Sentinel, but it was supposed to have torpedoes that could be e-warfare and different types as well. And they're the same size torpedoes as the
Maybe in the future these
if
guys
so,
can deploy some stuff to work with other ships that do e-warfare.
Mm.
I wouldn't rule that out, no. And I'd even say the same thing for the Harbinger and the Gladiator itself. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah.
So those size 5 torpedoes, if they do come in different varieties, any ship that's taking those size 5 torpedoes would be able to apply those different types of ammo type, again giving more flexibility.
So you could see things like the plasma there, leaving like plasma clouds or electron clouds, almost like what you get with the distortion flares, but like a more lingering cloud and stuff like that. So this could really change up the game. And these aren't the exact ones. They've never really kind of exactly said exactly what's coming. The only one I remember really definitively is Flak. But again, if you remember or you can find the video, please link it below so other people can have a look at it. But I am really looking forward to what this brings to the game, because up until this point it's been ballistics and laser. We're now going to get different ballistics types, and I hope that actually kind of unfurls into the FPS and into, like, for example, grenades. There are 5 different grenades in this game. We only have 1, and it's been over a decade. You know, like they've never gone and just added the EMP grenade in or the cluster grenade or anything like that. They've never done that. And it seems like such a small thing that would be kind of easy to do, but they've just had other priorities up to this point. So kind of weird.
And when you think of the EMP grenade at the moment, there's been no need for it, because we don't have the mech suits, or we don't have the gear that really requires the EMP to knock them out. So,
but even then, imagine if you had I don't know what this, like a more technological armor where it knocks out your visor, your digital display on your gun. Like if you had a Volt weapon, it wouldn't even fire. You see where I'm going? Like, so there is you could technically use them right now. If you had a very technical base suit that wasn't very analog, it could actually disable your suit and you could stop breathing for 5 seconds or whatever, you know what I mean? And if you've got a more manual suit, then it needs to be physically damaged. So there's going to be interesting things. Again, like I could see this happening with the different tech levels that they've talked about. They've got them in the files. They just haven't really implemented a lot of that stuff yet. So it's going to be really interesting to see that come in down the road.
And we have seen them talk that tech level, even in terms of ships. So we've got, the low tech, the mid tech, the medium tech, and the high tech type ships. And the latest ship from Kruger, the L21 Wolf, is a high tech ship.
So yeah, I want to talk about this. This is the kind of the last image we've been given of the Perseus. This is from this month's monthly report. You can see the exterior is getting quite detailed now. It still has that kind of black technical area and the grey base. I think this is just a bit of feedback from me. I think it doesn't look armor plated enough on the actual kind of armor sections, and I think it's a bit too busy. I'd rather to look like the big massive plates. Like, if you see what I mean, if I go back to the concept here, you can see how it looks plated, like it's big armor plates. That seems to be, like, even here, how you've kind of got this little panel sitting here and stuff. It looks like plates, where when you look at this image, it just looks like greebles. It doesn't look, you've lost some of that cool aesthetic that it had. I don't know if you feel the same, Algared, but
yeah, it doesn't feel as chunky as you'd expect a heavily armored riverboat to be.
Yeah. The other thing that was pointed out to me by Grim is, if you actually look here, this actually says airlock, which means that this airlock from the, oh God, let's see if I can find the original image. It's one of these ones, bear with me, doesn't exist anymore. Or is it not here anymore? Yeah, this one. So this airlock that extended out does not exist anymore. And you can think about why, because it had to extend out from the ship to reach so the other dock could reach it. Now, that's not a technology that exists, so they would have to actually do that bespokely for this ship, where by moving it to up here, it just works with other ship by default. And I think that's why they've done it. You'll also notice that it seems to be a standardized docking port, not a capital.
Yep.
So,
and we the other thing we know is, or we're pretty certain now, is that we know the kind of a better idea of the interior layout of a ship. When it first came out, there did seem to be the idea of a ramp.
Just before we go into that, we do need to look at that. You are totally right. But I just want to point out the escape pods that they seem to have put. I need to go over here. They put one down here and here, so they've actually moved some of them down to the bottom floor. What Algared's talking about is in this video. So yeah, go ahead, Algared.
Yeah, so in this video, there seemed to be two views of where they were thinking the ship would go. We've got the cargo bay down the bottom, which seems to also have a link to the torpedo launchers. And then we've got the cargo at the top with a ramp for the Ursa.
So this is the one we think that they are not doing anymore, because essentially if you see where the turret is here and the seat for the turret, it is directly below the bridge, where you can see here it's now back a lot further. And if you actually go back and look at a lot of the photos, I'll just try and find one, for example. This turret is really hard to see, but it is back here now, and the elevator is actually directly below, and there's an elevator, not a ramp.
And so that seems to indicate we've got the second one with the catwalk going through the top.
So even in their own videos, they've kind of put out misinformation in a weird turn of phrase. So
yeah, I think in fairness, they were just showing these were the
early
concepts they had as they were going through. They knew that they wanted to be able to take an Ursa, and have those big turrets, and so that's kind of what those two images were at least showing.
So yeah, this one would be a lot more realistic to what's happening, and you can even see the guns there; they're quite different to what they're having now. They have confirmed that the remote turrets are still dual gun Gatlings, and that eventually when the blades come into game, they'll defaultly have blades. So they are remote turrets that you control, but they also defaultly come with blades, which I think is interesting. But again, this is all energy requirements, Algared. So I really think everything you said about the components really shows that they do have to up. And again, it's like 40 meters longer. So it just is going to require at least one extra power plant. I can't imagine it not having, going to a bigger one. Personally.
The biggest downside of this ship is that every weapon on it is a ballistic weapon. So even the remote turrets are ballistic Gatlings.
But the upside is that customizability. So you get a massive drawback, but within a massive gain. And those two extra people, so essentially you got 6 people, so you got your co-pilot, your pilot, and your co-pilot's probably going to be doing the remote turrets if they need to be taken over and other little odd duties, the 2 major turrets. But those last 2 people, their primary job is just going to be feeding those turrets.
Feeding the turrets, loading the torpedo tubes, doing the engineering. So they're going to have a fairly busy job. But I wouldn't be surprised if a reason like the remote turrets are Gatlings, the main weapons are ballistics, is just because it does at present have such a low power plant, power supply. So
maybe that's a benefit.
Would hopefully reduce that. So
what was that power signature and makes it a little bit more stealthy. But I also think from the discussions you and I have had in the past, this is a way more defensive ship than an offensive ship. It's probably not going to be going like the Polaris and going way out. It's going to be because of the ballistic nature, it's going to need to reload. So that doesn't make it an attacking ship. It makes it more defensive in my eyes. And I think you agree with me on that from our past discussions.
Yeah, I think from memory, I remember them talking about, and I could be wrong, but my memory is that when CIG was talking about this ship originally, they talked about it, the inspiration were the heavy river attack boats. From the Vietnam War and going up the Mekong, and that doesn't say deep space. That says inshore. That says system defense or all that. So
just real quick, I'm going to turn my camera off here. But Inside Star System entered the Perseus Fall 2020. If you want to have a look at that one, and again, give yourself a refresher. But it's just been really interesting to go back and revisit this because it is going to be the biggest ship of the year, so to speak, and I'm really interested to see how it lands with that slow firing ammo. And I think it, again, if I very quickly go back to this and switch back to the browser, I think this image is very telling, and we've brought it up many times before when we've talked about the ship, but it's this one with the chair. Now that's one side of the ammo belt. There's essentially 10 shots there, so you can imagine there's 10 on the other belt, and of course it's not going to stay there because it's CIG. I'll just open a new tab. I'll defeat you, CIG, don't worry. Yeah, you're essentially getting 10 shots. So if you're doing, okay, HE rounds, bang, 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 bang. All right, I need a flak round now. You're going to fire off those 10 shots, but then once that comes in, you're going to getting nothing but flak coming in. Can you, the other interesting thing is, can you have flak on one and HE on the other and stuff like that? They're all little interesting things. Do they feed from the same ammo? Is it two separate things? These are all things that we don't know. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they've thought those all through when this lands. There's a lot of unknowns on this ship. And I'm going to be honest, compared to other capitals, like let's just say the Polaris, there are a lot more unknowns here than there have been on previous ones.
My thought would be that just looking at that, because we've got the two cannons, but there's a belt on either side, but you'd still have that same question. If you've got one just set with HE rounds and one set with flak, and you need armor piercing, you're going to be up with duff. So
it shows
those choices matter.
Yeah, and it shows the gameplay, like just how well those 6 people are going to have to be working together. Like, okay, John, who's on the bottom turret, you do flak. I'm going to do HE on the top, but I've only got flak on one guy. Like that communication, and it's probably all going to be driven by the co-pilot. I'm going to be honest, because I think the pilot's going to be in a full-time job flying. It's going to be really, really interesting to see that communication.
No, 100%, and even that communication to the loaders or the two spare crew, the engineers and whatever. You know, we're going to be taking on this capital ship over here, so we're going to need that armor piercing ammo. There's a fighter crowd coming. We've lost our support. We're going to need that flak ammo coming in. So, it is going to make it an interesting ship to be in. I don't think you'll be bored if you're not a gunner. I think you'll be run off your feet.
I think it is a more exciting prospect because it's a larger ship with a smaller crew count. You're looking at a similar crew count, like 2 more than a Redeemer and Paladin. You've also got the Paladin coming in this year. It's really interesting because this ship is a really good counter to the Polaris and the Idris that have essentially been ruling the roost since they came in. And now PvPers are probably going to be able to strike back a little bit. I am really interested to see where this lands. If this can turn up and smash a Polaris, or at least put up a good fight with a Polaris, I think we'll see some really interesting things coming down the pipe, especially with scanning. Once that scanning hits, I don't think people are ready for scanning. And again, if you go look on the roadmap, it is due by the end of the year, and it is going to really mix up that core meta, because once the bad guys can find you, half those bad guys will all of a sudden become the good guys trying to stop the bad guys. So pirates will probably back off a little bit, but it's also going to mean that you're going to need escorting, and that's really going to start to kick the game off, because at this point we've just never had a reason for the fighters to be with the guys doing the stuff. Now you've got something important that needs to be protected. Those PvP people are now going to take sides. They're not just all going to be on one side. They're going to split, and it's going to really change how things work. And again, adding another big ship like this to go alongside the Polaris and Idris. I think we're going to be eating sweet this end of the year, Algared. I don't know what you think there, but yeah.
Well, even this ship going up against an Idris or a Polaris, the fact that, you know, I was using the Idris the other day. I had one of his ships that was attacking me ram my ship. The damage repair bill, just because I was rammed, was 100,000. Whereas normally, here's the ammo at like 3,000 or 4,000. So the second you start taking damage, those repair bills are going to go through the roof for those big ships. This is going to be
another interesting one.
Those big ships.
How much does it cost for armor to come back? We've got all those things to come, and they are flirting with armor at the moment and starting to look at how that works too. And again, with this being a high armor ship, it'd be a big cost to do that. So there's a big cost. Again, another unknown. So yeah. Algared, what would you like to hear from people in the comments below?
Yeah. Have your thoughts changed on the Perseus? Are you still as eager for it as you were when it first came out? Have you got buyer's remorse if you spent $625 on your, or $675 on your Perseus? And why?
I think I should also add here, Algared, you and I got ours for about 300, and I think that's kind of roughly what we thought it was worth because of the Caterpillar and Staff era. So yeah, yeah, I'd kind of, yeah. Are you still eagerly waiting the Perseus, as Algared said, and do you kind of agree with me, Algared, that there clearly has to be some changes based on some of the stuff Algared showed on the components and stuff like that. I am kind of hoping for size 8s. I think it makes a bit more sense. But again, I won't be surprised if they still say size 7 because again, they're going to balance this to the best of their abilities. So yeah.
Look, I think, as you said, if they go up to size 8s, it's just going to be part of their balancing mechanic. And it's the same with everything. Everything will get balanced to be where they want it to fall. But yeah.
All right, with that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And thank you to everyone that went the extra mile at the end of the video on Patreon. With that then, he's been Algared.
And he's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens.